Abortion. Right? Wrong? Something in between? All right, let's take a look at this really important question. Question number 50. What does the Bible say about abortion? Okay, the Bible has a lot to say about abortion. It doesn't just have things to say about stuff from 2,000 years ago or beyond. It has stuff to say about today. It is as relevant today as ever. It has stuff to say about abortion. It has stuff to say about everything. The Bible covers every topic and every question, at least in principle, so that we are able to answer every question and talk about every topic with an informed biblical perspective on that topic or of that question. So that's true of abortion as well. So let's take a look. What does the scripture say? What do we know about abortion? Well, we're actually not left with any doubt at all what the Bible has to say about abortion, because the scriptures describe what is in the womb. The scriptures describe what is in the womb as a child, as a living human being. We see that, for example, in Luke chapter 2, verse 5, where a pregnant woman is described as a woman with child. Okay, so we know, biblically speaking, we know from the perspective of God what is in the womb. It is a living child, a living being. Okay, and then in Luke chapter 1, verse 41, here's another verse just like that. It says, the baby leapt in her womb. Okay, so what's in the womb is described as a child. What's in the womb is described as a baby. So we're left with no doubt whatsoever what the scriptures have to say about what is in the womb. What is in the womb is a living child. Okay. So therefore, as a living child, it has all of the rights of every other living child. The same rights as a 1-year-old, the same rights as a 2-year-old, the same rights as you and me. If it is a child in the womb, then it has the right then to life. That is one of the most basic and protected rights in our Constitution, which is the law of our land, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So if what is in the womb is a living child, then it has the right to its life. It has the right not to have its life taken away. And therefore, that's what we have. We have a conclusion that abortion is the taking of an innocent life and therefore is to be considered unlawful and is to be considered wrong. It should not be allowed. It should not be legal. It should be illegal. Just as it's illegal to take the life of a 1-year-old. It's illegal to take the life of a 3-year-old. It's illegal to take your life. It is illegal in this country to take the life of any innocent person. Okay, and obviously a child in the womb is innocent, and it is a child, so it is a living, innocent person who has the right to life. Now we can see that conclusion, that what's in the womb is a living child, backed up by medical science. Because if you look at the vital signs of the baby in the womb, you look at it medically, you will see that it is a child. It is a living human being. So let's take a look, okay? At conception, when there's just one cell, it's called a zygote, and that zygote is already living and genetically complete. And so life begins at conception. Then, just a couple of weeks later, 2-3 weeks later, maybe about 18 days later, we have a heartbeat. So to this living being from day 1, we have a heartbeat at about day 18. Clearly living from day 1 with a heartbeat from day 18. Then if you go on to about 6 weeks, then this baby now has brain waves. It is a living being from the start. It has a heartbeat at 18 days. It has brain waves at 6 weeks. That's thought life, okay? And with its thought life, it has independent movement of its own body. And then if you go on to 8 weeks, just 8 weeks, just 2 months into the pregnancy, all the organs are formed, and even the baby's unique fingerprints are formed, its external features are formed, and it responds to touch, sound, and pain, all at 8 weeks. And so you have a heartbeat, you have brain waves, you have life from conception, you have all the vital signs you could possibly need from medical science to demonstrate that what's in the womb is a living human being. Okay, and so when an abortion occurs, there is a heartbeat that stops, there are brain waves that stops. It's the ending of a human being's life, an innocent human being's life that is protected by the Constitution. What shouldn't happen to anyone, that their innocent life is taken, it does happen in the course of an abortion. So we have the Bible saying what's in the womb is a child, but we also have medical science telling us that what's in the womb is a living human being. It is a child. So once you see that what's in the womb is a living being, both from the scriptures and from medical science, then all of the arguments that people use for abortion fade away, become arguments that don't work, that don't hold up, that make very, very little sense. So I want to go over some of the arguments that are made by people who are for abortion, who say that abortion should be legal, that it should be okay. And I want to show you that once you establish and once you see that what's in the womb is a living human being, which we said we can establish biblically and by medical science, once you see that, all of these arguments for abortion do not work at all. So let's take a look at some of these arguments. Here's one. A person will say, yeah, but it's my choice. I get to have choice what I do with my body. Here's the problem with that argument, okay? The baby in the womb also has choice. You're only arguing for your choice, not the choice of human beings, not your choice of people. You're arguing for your choice, and your choice is to take their life. But they have a choice too. Remember, once we establish that it's a living being, a child, then we establish that it has rights too. It has a choice, and its choice to live supersedes your choice to have control over your body and take the life of the child. So that it's a choice doesn't really make sense. Isn't a good argument because you're really only arguing for your choice. The choice of the baby is to live. Just as it's your choice that your life not be taken. They have a choice, and their choice is their life not be taken. You cannot take away their choice to live. Here's argument number 2. It's a bit similar to that one. A person says, well, it's my body. I can do with it what I want. But again, if what's in the womb is a living being, then it has a body too. And so you're only arguing for you to do what you want with your body, but taking not into account what they want to do with their body. And with their body, well, they want to live, okay? They want to live just like you and I want to live. And so you can't say, it's my body, because you're forgetting that there's another body involved, and it's the body in the womb. Again, once we establish that this is a living child in the womb, then it has a body, and it has the right to its body as well. So you can't say, I'm going to take with my body, do what I want by taking away what they want to do with their body, which is to live. Here's argument number 3. Abortion is anti-women. Couldn't be further from the truth. When you are fighting against abortion, you are fighting for innocent life. That's what it's about. That's who it's for. And half of those innocent lives are women. It's not about putting down women. It's about saving lives. Again, if you can establish what's in the womb is a living being, then it's about saving life. That's what it's about. It's not anti-women. It is not at all that. It is simply for the life of innocent people, the lives of innocent women, the lives of innocent men and boys, the lives of all the innocent in the womb. All right, here's the next argument against what we've been saying, or an argument for abortion. people say, well, there should be separation of church and state. So even if the church or the Bible says that abortion is wrong, well, that's your religion. You keep that over there and don't make a law or a rule about it and let us have abortion. Well, this argument for against abortion, for life, is not just a biblical or religious argument. This is an argument from the Constitution. It's the Constitution that says that you should not and cannot take an innocent life. It is the church, it is the state saying you cannot take an innocent life. So once we establish that what's in the womb is an innocent life, as we did, then it's the Constitution that takes over and says you may not take that life. Yes, the Bible says the same thing, but this isn't an argument for imposing religion. This is an argument for taking the Constitution and applying it to every person. Remember, the Constitution applies to every living being. If a child in the womb is a living being, then the Constitution applies to them. This isn't about a religious argument. It is about taking the Constitution and applying it to what's in the womb, to every person. All right, here's a fifth argument we often hear. People will say, this is a private thing between me and my doctor. This is a private thing that I can choose between me and what my doctor says I can or cannot do. Well, again, the problem with that argument is it just assumes that what's in the womb isn't really there, isn't really a person. If what's in the womb is a person, then the decision isn't between you and your doctor. There's another person involved. It's just that they don't have a voice. They don't get to say. But the law has to speak for them, which is that they get to live. They get to not have their life taken. And so there's nothing private. It's not you and a doctor. If what's in the womb is a living human being, then what's present with your doctor is this person as well. They're just not being heard. Their voice is not being heard. The only voice getting heard is you and your doctor. But there's three people there as a third person. And that person's voice gets to be heard. It gets to be heard because the Constitution says they have a right to life. And so it is not a private decision between a woman and her doctor, because there's the person in the womb has their choice as well. So here's another common argument. People will say, well, if you make abortion illegal, we'll just go out and do it in the streets. Okay, that's not really an argument that says we should be allowed to do abortions. It's like saying, I can go out and kill a 1-year-old until you make it legal. I'll go out and do it in the street. It doesn't work that way. The fact that you would threaten to go and do it anyway in the street doesn't mean that you should be doing it or that it should be allowed. If you're taking an innocent life, it just shouldn't be allowed because the Constitution guarantees the right to life. Here's another argument. Number 7. Christians are hypocritical. They're against abortion, but they're for capital punishment and war. Well, all right, so let's take that argument where how can you be for life in the womb, but also be for capital punishment or endorse a war? Well, there's a big difference between capital punishment and abortion. Because remember, every child in the womb is an innocent living human being. But in capital punishment, it has been established that that person is guilty. They're guilty of a punishment worthy of their own life being taken. And so it is not in capital punishment, it is not the taking of an innocent life. So it's very distinct from abortion. Abortion is the taking of an innocent life. Capital punishment is not. And in the case of a just war, neither is that. So to equate the two and then call Christians hypocritical, those Christians who are for capital punishment or who are for just wars, is fallacious, because the distinction here is you may not take the life of an innocent human being. All right, and let's take a look at the 8th and final argument, which goes like this. You're just saying abortion is wrong out of hate and anger and judgment against me. There ought not be any hate, there ought not be any anger going on here, but there ought to be discernment. And the discernment is this, that what's in the womb is a living human being. And so we are standing up for that living human being. The motive is not hate, the motive is not anger. And if there's any hate and there's any anger, that ought to be removed. If there's any judgment, that ought to be removed. But here's what ought to be going on, is that we stand up for the rights of every individual and for their life. And so if what's in the womb is a living human being, then we are standing up for their rights, their most basic right, their right to live. That's what it's all about, standing up for the rights of every individual, standing up for someone who's living to remain alive. And that's what a baby in the womb is, living, and we are standing up for them to have their life, which is already protected by the Constitution, which guarantees everyone the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When a person is aborted, they have lost their right to life. They have lost all their choices, all their liberty, and they have lost their right to the pursuit of happiness. We have no right to take an innocent person's life, and therefore we are standing up for the right to life. So let's go back now to some of these basic facts. Both the Bible and medical science conclude the same way, that what's in the womb is a living human being. Okay? So once again, Luke chapter 1, verse 41, the baby leapt in her womb. What's in the womb is a baby. Medical science, same thing. At conception, the baby is alive. At 18 days, there is a heartbeat. At 6 weeks, there are brain waves. At 8 weeks, all the organs are formed. All the external features are there. Unique fingerprints are there. They're able to respond to touch, sound, and pain. So we have very conclusive evidence, both from science and the Bible, that what's in the womb is a living human being. What's in the womb is a child. And therefore, if you take that life through abortion, you are taking the life of an innocent child. That life, just like yours, just like mine, is protected. It's protected by law, by the Constitution, guaranteeing the right to life to every innocent human being. And therefore, by the Constitution, we are not to be taking the life of innocent people anymore. And so we are to stand up for the rights of these children, the rights of the children. And because their voice isn't getting heard, okay? Their voice isn't getting heard. It needs to be heard. They have a right. Here's their voice. They have a right to remain alive. They have a right to their life. We ought to be honoring their life legally, just like we're honoring our own lives legally. And therefore, we conclude that abortion is both wrong and ought to be illegal in this country, and that it is not right that it isn't illegal. It should not be legal to take the life of an innocent human being. And that is both the biblical conclusion, the conclusion from the Constitution, the conclusion from medical science. They're all saying the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. What's in the womb is a child, and that child has every right to live that you and I have. Thank you for joining with us. I'm glad we had this conversation today, and I hope it was a blessing to you and profitable for you. And I hope you'll check out all the other questions that we've covered, 1 through 50, and hope you'll check out the midweek devotions too. Such a joy to be with you always, and again, so exciting to go over all these questions with you. And remember, for every question, there's always an answer.